Hello there and welcome. This is lesson 2 of the music theory basics, and in this lesson we will learn about notes and scales. In my opinion, I think one of the highest skill a beginner producer can invest in is learning notes and scales. I know some producers might disagree, but getting started with music production, you need to at least grasp the basics of note and scale. This helps you to create better and more intentional music instead of guessing. But sometimes guessing or experimenting works out perfectly well, but keep in mind that you don't have all year to complete a beat. Faster workflow and efficiency matters too. Alright, let me make this clear. You don't need to 100% memorize every scale, notes in every key right away or become a classical music theorist. There's a system of rules that applies to all scale, and we will learn that trick in this video. With that said, for those of us who don't know what a scale is, how the piano keyboard works or its layout, the musical alphabet on the keyboard and so on, let me break it down. Let's begin with introducing you to musical notes. So with this basic piano, the F4 keys, let's press F7 to get into the piano roll. Alright, notes are the building blocks of music, and there are only 12 of them. All these individual keys are called notes, whether white or black. So looking at the keyboard, there are several notes, but in simplicity, I'm telling you it's only made up of 12 notes. Let me break it down. So let's dive into understanding the piano keyboard. Alright, just looking at the keyboard, you'll notice it is made up of white and black keys. We have 7 sets of white keys, and 5 sets of black keys, making it a total of 12 musical notes. This same pattern repeats throughout the entire keyboard. If I bring them up to say 5, it's still the same pattern. Now let's understand how the notes of the keyboard are labeled, the musical alphabet. To do this in FL Studio, hit the drop down menu, head over to View, and under piano roll, select key label. Mine is already set to all notes. That's how my keys are labeled. Let's say we set it to none. You see what happens? The key labels disappear. So the musical alphabet are from A to G, and it repeats. But to memorize it easily, look at it this way. The keyboard is made up of 2 sets of black notes. So on the left of the 2 sets of black notes is the note C. From there you can move in alphabetical order to name them. So we have D, E, and then on the left of the 3 sets of black notes is the F. So that's it. Now let's understand the key signatures, sharps and flat. Alright, the easiest way to understand a sharp or flat is to consider movement of notes. So from the C, if I move ascendingly, the next note is C sharp. But from the D, if I descend descendingly, the same note which is called C sharp is now D flat. So moving upwards makes the immediate note a sharp, and the opposite is true. Moving downwards makes it a flat. So one note can have 2 names, either a sharp or a flat. Moving on, let's understand pitch, high and low sound. From the C to another C is an octave, but the only variation between them is the pitch. The pitch can be high or low depending on whether we are moving ascendingly or descendingly. Moving upwards, you get a higher sounding pitch, and if you are descending, you get a lower sounding pitch. Next up, let's look at intervals, the distance between 2 notes. Alright, from C, if we move to the next note, C sharp, the distance between these 2 notes are half step or semitones apart. But if we skip a note and jump to the D, the distance between the C and D is a whole step or a tone apart. So same rules applies to all the notes. From a D to D sharp is a semitone or half step apart, and from D to E is a whole step or a tone apart. This movement is important because we'll use that to build our skills. Next up, let's look at introduction to scales. What are they? Alright, so scales are ordered sequence of notes that we humans have decided it sounds good together. But we'll focus on the major scale. Another name for it is Ionian. And then the natural minor scale, you also see it as Aeolian. Alright, so let's look at the foundation of music, the major and minor scale. Let's begin with the major scale. There is a certain pattern of which the major scale is built in. We'll be using the theory of whole steps and half steps to build it. The easiest of the scale to remember is the C major because it's made up of all white keys from C to C. You don't have to worry about any flat or sharps. So from C, the pattern is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and half step. This is the pattern for the major scale, and it applies to all keys in the major scale. Alright, you can cross-check if your scale is highlighted. The deep grey notes don't belong to the scale, so we leave that out. So looking at it, the theory matches up. Now let's look at relative scale. Basically, relative scale means all the notes belonging to a major scale will fit perfectly into another minor scale. We have the C major scale highlighted here. The rule is we count minus 3 semitones. So we are moving 3 semitones down from the root note, which is the C. So when you move 3 semitones down, you arrive at A. That means the A minor scale shares the same note with the C major. Therefore, A minor is the relative scale of the C major. You can double check it by changing the highlighted scale to A minor. You see, all the notes of the A minor scale belongs to the C major if we interchange the starting point. So now we easily have our minor scale. This is important when you have samples of different keys and you are trying to match the keys. So it's important you know the relative minor scales by just pitching them minus 3 semitones to arrive at that note. Let's do another example. Let's move everything to maybe G and change the scale to G minor. So to find the relative scale from a minor to a major, we do the opposite. We go plus 3 semitones upwards. So when you do that, you land at B flat or A sharp. So the relative major of G minor is B flat or A sharp major. Let's quickly check that out. You can see that all this note belongs to the B flat or A sharp major scale. So I believe as a beginner producer you need to understand notes and scale. We'll get to the practical section of using these tips and tricks when we start building melodies. That will be all for this lesson. In the next lesson, we'll look at basic chords, the major and minor triads.